Hey everybody, how we doing today? I'm back with Joey here, and Joey, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you doing, man?
Can't complain. Another day in paradise. We actually had some decent weather today, so it's nice to have
That's
that change of pace.
that's funny. We had some pretty decent weather too.
Yeah, interesting how that works. But yeah, I got to talk to you a little bit last night. We dabbled into all kinds of topics, but I want to give all of the viewers a chance to kind of get to know you and see kind of how you get on the spiritual path that you're on now. And um, yeah, I'll let you take the floor and give us some backstory.
Absolutely. Essentially, when I was a kid, from zero onwards, my mom was actually, believe it or not, was actually a priestess in the Church of Satan, and she had been a Lutheran her whole life, and she was kind of heavily abused. So there was a negative connotation with Christianity in that way. So I was sort of raised as a very young child without any spiritual influence. Nothing was pushed on me. And then, actually, after my parents' divorce, when I was about 6 years old, we started going to church, a Lutheran church. So, from the ages of 6 to 10, I was going to church, and I was really into it. And then, after that, we stopped going and kind of fell out of it. And we my after my parents' divorce, my dad was seeing a woman from Laos, and she was Buddhist. And my mom also actually met a friend while attending college. She was also Buddhist. So kind of on both sides, I had this Buddhism influencing me. So began meditating every day. As a kid, when I was 8 years old, I was meditating,
That's
and
very healthy. I wish I would have known more about meditation when I was younger.
I
It's
feel
almost
like it.
better for you than recess.
I feel like it was. I didn't go to counseling during, with my parents' divorce or anything, and I feel that it probably wasn't 100% necessary for me because I actually was doing the work and I was actually meditating as a kid. You know, um, so all this being said, I was very into Buddhism, and then we actually, my mom, my sister, and I, we all kind of got interested in Norse paganism. So practicing Norse paganism, my sister got really influenced by Wicca, and I sort of was interested in this, but it is kind of more my sister's thing. Now, I actually just recently, I think I mentioned to you, started a local coven here. It's not exclusively for Wiccans or people who necessarily identify as witches. It's really just a circle for spiritual practitioners, energy workers. But going back, um, yeah, after that, after getting into Norse paganism, sort of just that general practice of ancestral knowledge, I became a completely atheist when I was through the end of middle school into high school. I was an atheist, and I was very into science. When I was going through the end of high school, I was almost sure that I was going to go to school for theoretical physics. So I was really set on this path. And then my uncle gave me a book on shamanism called Awakening to the Spirit World by Sandra Ingerman and Hank Wesselman. It's a fantastic book, and this is what really set me on my path. So I read this book, and then I
What's it?
started.
What's it called?
It's Awakening to the Spirit World by Sandra Ingerman and Hank Wesselman. Fantastic, and those are both very respected people within the community of shamanism. So excellent names to go and check out. Any of their work really would be fantastic. Another great name I'll just throw out there right now is Michael Harner. Um, Absolutely fantastic. So so I began reading this book and also experimenting with psychedelics, and that was when I was exposed to LSD for the first time. And really from then on, after having a few of my first shamanic spirit journeys without drugs, I really began to think, okay, now there really is something to this, and that is it. That is the book, right here. So this is the book that definitely set me on my path. So after getting into shamanism, it kind of opened me back up to Buddhism a bit more. So shamanism is the path of direct revelation. There's no medium between you and God, between you and source, the universe, the light. You are directly interacting, directly receiving information from your spirit guides, from source. So it's the path of direct revelation. And I know we talked about this yesterday as well, but the first time I meditated with a Buddhist monk, he told me in Christianity, they say, come and believe. In Buddhism, they say, come and see. It's really just a matter of coming and maintaining the practice, and eventually you'll notice what's happening. So jumping around a bit here, but yeah, I've been all over the place, man. All over the place. Shamanism, Buddhism are mainly my digs now. So
those are your core beliefs, if you had to label them.
Yes, if I had to label my core beliefs, I'm an omnist. I believe that no faith contains all truth, but all faiths contain truth. So you can't contain all of the truth within just one idea. However, all ideas contain a bit of that truth is essentially the concept. So I ascribe to these beliefs and practices of shamanism, of Buddhism, Taoism. I incorporate lots of isms. Can I go out and say I believe in this specific ism? Not really. It's pretty hard to label. I'd say Omanism's the closest, just because it's so damn open-minded in its definition. But
how do you feel about Agartha or Shangri-La or these places referenced?
Shambhala.
Yeah, Shambhala.
So these places are within us.
Within us?
Yeah. And they are lost kingdoms. It's the Garden of Eden. It's the lost paradise that humanity is longing for. And that is what you achieve, and that's what you find through that nirvana moksha moment, through the liberation. You come upon Shambhala. You come upon this beautiful city that is residing within your heart center and has always been there.
Yeah, no, I've always thought it was a higher plane of existence, or almost a raised consciousness, if you will. Even a higher dimension, I think, is also a possibility, because I think all of those things coincide. And I think it just comes down to how you describe those things, because I think they can all kind of overlap a little bit with what they might be.
That's right.
But I don't necessarily say, there's an inner earth and there's people living in there. I don't necessarily.
No, but there's different words for all of it. Frequencies, dimensions, vibes. It's all the same thing. It's just coming out of a different mouth, basically. So I'm not necessarily one to throw on the tinfoil hat and ascribe to necessarily there's people living in the earth. However, when it comes down to shamanism, my nature spirits do live in the earth. Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean, and that's how they're described. So it would only make sense. And I mean, if we look at other religions and other practices and other just civilizations, I always think it's interesting to notice the similarities in Buddhism, and then also a lot of Native Americans. A lot of their benevolent gods come from the ground up. And there's not a lot of religions or civilizations that depict that besides those few. There's actually it's very rare for a religion to say that their gods come from beneath.
Well, can you really pinpoint any specific attachment of the Native American culture? You look at Buddhism, and it's all about releasing attachments, right? Detaching oneself. Look at the Native American culture. What were they attached to? They weren't holding attachment in the way that Wasichu culture does, in the way that our consumer culture does.
Well, and I do feel like the Indians had more attachments, but they had a very good look upon it. If they were to kill an animal, they would use all of the parts of that animal. They weren't
Yeah.
going to just kill it and leave it behind, and half of it gets, goes to waste. They were going to use 100% of what they retrieved.
And that is in honor of the earth, in honor of Pachamama.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we touched on this a little bit last night. What's the significance of the name that you have on there, besides it being your Instagram or
Right.
your?
So Amun Raja, when you break it down, so Amun is one of the Egyptian, and we could talk about this even further, but Amun is one of the Egyptian gods of the sun. Raja is the Indian word for prince or king or royalty. So ultimately, Amun Raja kind of means something like sun king. But actually, I wonder where I hid this book at. It's one that I'm not referencing today, so I might have stashed it away. Anyway, in a different version of this, basically in a book by Buckland's Guide to Witchcraft, it talks about picking your witch name, choosing a witch name, having a chosen name rather than a given name. So you determine your life path number, your birth number. I'll break that down, but my personal life path number is 7. So there's also a chart in this book, and you make a name that correlates to your life path number, to your birth path number. So, or to your birth number. And so Amun Raja, actually, the numbers crunched down with all the values added up according to this chart in this book on witchcraft, it correlates to the number 7.
Okay.
So yes, so it's a combination of being correlated to my birth number, it's my chosen witch name, and it has this history to it as well, kind of the merging of cultures, which is what I'm all about. Indian, Egyptian culture. I'm very, very into, I make electronic bass music. So a lot of that Eastern influence makes its way into my music, a lot of world culture. Yeah. But to go back to the birth path, life path number thing, birth number thing, to determine your life path number, for anybody who's listening and is interested, you take the numeric value of your month that you were born, the numeric value of the day, and then the numeric value of the year. So, for example, March 10th, 1992. So 3/10/1992. So 3 plus 1 is 4, plus 0, 4, plus 1, 5, plus 9, 14, plus 9, 23, plus 2, 25. So now you're left with 25. So 2 plus 5 is 7. So my life path number is 7. That's how you break that down.
I'm going to have to figure out mine now. You're making me curious.
I'm curious. Let me know.
Oh, yeah. Mine would be December 15th, 1989. So 12/15/1989. So 1 plus 2, 3. 3 plus 1, 4. 4 plus 5, 9. 9 plus 1, 10. 19 plus 9.
28.
What's that?
28.
Yeah, 28. And then, did I do it wrong? I said 1990. I might have already did it wrong. I might have forgot the 8. Or did I do 1/9?
You said 12/15/1990.
At 1989. Sorry.
1989. So yeah. 12/15/1989. So 12 plus 15, we can break this down. So 27. And then plus 1989. So 27 plus 1, 28. Plus 9, 37. Plus 9, 46. Or no, I'm sorry.
8.
Damn.
So 35.
So 45.
35.
Plus.
Right?
35. And then plus 9, which would be 44.
Yeah.
So 4
then
plus
4 plus 4, it would be 8.
Yeah. So your life path number is 8 then.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can actually look that up. And if you want to look it up now, and you can actually look up life path number chart, and you'll find charts that have like 1, 2, or like life path number. Just look that up, and then on Google Images, it'll come up like 1, 2, 3, all the way 1 through 9. It'll show you, and then there's also like master numbers like 11 and 33. It's funny. I'm not even a numerology expert, and I wasn't really expecting to start talking about like life path numbers and stuff, but here we are. So.
Hi, Olivia. Thanks for tuning in again.
Hey,
We appreciate it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Or if you want to join us at a later time, you're more than welcome to as well.
We'll be here all night.
So I pulled up the number path here. Let me see if I can pull it up on the screen.
Excellent. Show the people. Give the people what they want.
Let's see.
That's a beautiful screen.
8 life path. The path of empowerment.
There we are.
All right.
That's awesome.
Overcoming judgments.
You're on the path of
Investing in
empowerment.
yourself and overcoming judgments. I like that. I like that phrase.
Life path number 7 is the seeker. So I am kind of the knowledge seeker. So I can also appreciate life path number 8. I have many life path. I have many 3s in my life that come and go. The common number.
Oh, what are you painting? I'm kind of curious. Or what kind of art do you do?
All right. Well, I suppose that may I divulge here and pop my camera around? How do I do this?
Of course, you may.
How do I flip the camera?
I don't know how you do it on there. You might have to go to settings inside of the your camera.
Oh, this is not good. This is not good. Front camera. Oh, we're switching to back camera. Done deal. Can you guys see anything? Okay, there we go.
You see it now. Yeah.
So this is one of my paintings. And I've got it under UV. So there's like some UV there. The Ankh itself is UV. But I'll go ahead and actually turn on the light so you guys can see what I got going on here.
I like the geometric pattern coming out of the reflection.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Pyramid, Ankh, sky, all that good stuff. I don't know what to tell you. I'm a hippie. Front camera. We're going back to the front camera. Also, I somehow unplugged my phone, so we got to figure that back out. Now I have to return to the chat. This is complicated. How do you do this? Wow.
I'm not doing it from a cell phone. It's a little easier.
Oh, fair enough, man. Okay.
Yeah, no. I make it. I'm really big on not having too many things I'm attached to. So with that being said, I still have a flip phone. I choose not to do anything but call and text on it. And I used to have a smartphone. It actually, I was attached to it. God, I got addicted to that Pokemon Go game. Gosh, back in the day, that was my slight addiction. But it actually made me exercise a little bit more, at least.
Hell yeah, it made you get out of the house and walk around. That was Pokemon Go was right around the time that my firstborn was born, and I was super into it. I got a couple Pokemon Go stickers on the longboard here.
Nice.
Light on. So you see, I got Pokemon Go, but then it's the Pokemon Go with the X through it. I'm like, eh.
You got a couple people commenting on your painting here.
Oh.
Olivia said, just playing around with some new paints. Oh, nice work. And then Amanda said, so happy with the symmetry on that painting.
Oh, thank you very much. I do appreciate that. There's it's mostly symmetrical, but then there's little things that are asymmetrical as well. I hid the 12 zodiac signs in that painting. So they're kind of tucked in different little corners.
Well, doesn't that have the Star of Life in it too? The
Flower of Life, yeah.
The Flower of Life. Sorry.
No, exactly. So there's kind of these overlapping geometric patterns in there, and the Flower of Life is on top of that. Yeah.
Mutter is addicted to Angry Birds.
It's a fun one. It's a fun one.
Yeah, no, there was a version that they made of that one time, and you could literally apply an image that was the bird. So I was going around to all my friends' profiles and just dropping their picture as the bird, and then playing the game with theirs, and then I'd send them a copy to their Facebook. It was great.
Hell yeah. Man, I was showing you my new longboard. Unfortunately, my old longboard was like the hardware was all rattling around. It was loose and chewing through the wood. So I had to buy a new longboard, and I had like no rainy day fund. So I legit had to sell my Nintendo Switch to buy a longboard. It hurts so hard.
But do you have one now, or are you better that you're separated from it?
Oh, I'm better that I'm separated from it. It hurt in the moment.
It's
like I was realizing, I've got these games. I don't really even play this thing. Like, I'm a musician, man. I don't care.
Yeah.
Why do I have
No,
this?
I understand. No, the only games I actually keep around are I have all of the preloaded old systems like Super Nintendo, regular Nintendo. The only one I don't have is Sega, but I'm more into older games. I think the new games are just too complicated now.
I agree. Well, and it's a competition to outgame the last game. Like,
oh yeah,
don't get me wrong. If you play Assassin's Creed, and then if you play Assassin's Creed 2, oh fuck yeah, they improved many things. Don't get me wrong. However, by the way, this is like it's gone from shamanism to Assassin's Creed. I'd like to point out. But like they made it more approachable as a game, but then as it went on, Assassin's Creed 3, and like all the Brotherhood and all this stuff, it's like now there's just the new gear. It's constantly like the next gadget. They had to keep people interested, and it's this bread and circuses concept. Now you're just entertaining the masses. Can't we just like the classics?
I was trying. Olivia asked if we had any drawings. I was trying to find my drawing notebook.
I have none. I paint without a sketch.
Just kind of open painting.
I just kind of go for it. Yeah.
No, that's good. I feel like everybody's got a different approach to it. I think it's a lot of fun. And there's in such a release. I have my favorite coloring book. I keep it next to me. It's basically it's like an adult coloring book, and it has some pretty interesting words that they put into it. I mean, it'll be give a good example that's not too bad for
what kind of interesting are we talking about here?
They're usually swear words. And it's just, I don't know, it's my way of venting.
Absolutely. No, sometimes it's just beautifully ironic.
This one just says fuck off and die.
Yeah.
And like my adult coloring book is always a lot of fun to jump into.
It's a meditation. Well, the funny thing is people can say, oh, why would you focus on something negative like that? In Zen
I'm not even focused on the words. That's the thing. I'm literally focused on the drawing itself, so I don't get too attached.
Sometimes, though, in Zen Buddhism, it's the irony of the situation where you achieve the enlightenment. You say, oh, it is all a joke. It is all a joke. I actually, speaking of Buddhism, so I'm just going to go into this story of, so there's a man being chased by a tiger, and the tiger is chasing him towards the edge of a cliff. So the man is faced with a decision. So he quickly grabs the vine that's dangling at the edge of the cliff so that the tiger can't get him, and he's holding onto this vine. And then a mouse comes along and starts chewing on the vine. So the man's going to fall to his death. But then he realizes that there's a strawberry growing from the vine. And he picks it, and it's ripe, and he puts it in his mouth, and it's delicious. And it's just a beautiful story about being
distraction
in the moment. Not even distraction, it's that if you truly live in the moment, nothing else matters.
Okay. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that way. Because I mean, yeah, you can get too caught up in all of the outside influence that isn't necessarily something you should be worried about. And it's always been my thing about just horrible news and media and stuff like that. Like we just get swamped with this negative energy and just not positive messages. And some people want to sit and take all of that in. I'm just like, just don't watch it. You're hurting yourself, like taking that energy with you, and you actually carry it around. People don't realize that you take it with you, and it adjusts your vibration, and you rub off on other people with it.
Yeah, you are lowering your own vibration, and like you said, you're bringing it around with you. You're rubbing it off onto other people, and like we were talking about in our little lobby before we started this chat. I actually did an energy cleanse before we even started talking, before this video chat even started talking. Often people use sage. I'm a little less traditional than that. I honestly just use sticks of incense. But so I lit some incense. I used my hawk feather, and I smudged my room. And myself. I cleansed the stagnant energy and guided it out the window so that the universe could do something with that potential energy. And yeah, it's just about that maintaining positivity, and like we were talking about, like having that high vibration. When you're maintaining a high vibration and just living that life and embracing it, the lower vibes tend to bounce off of you, and you might see them.
I think more than anything, when you talk about these cleansing things, a lot of people think it's a personal thing when it's actually you're doing it for yourself and others. Like, yes, because you doing that actually helps me. Yes. And actually, the second you started talking about it, you saw me. I actually went and lit some incense that were right next to me, and I started firing those up while we were talking about it. I was like, oh, okay. I should probably get some incense burning too. Get at least a good smell going in my room. And
I should probably do the same thing, brother.
There you go.
What you got burning over there, man?
I'm big into the I would call them like male cologne type scents. Like I like to do like mahogany. My favorite mixture is actually dragon's blood and tangerine.
Oh, yeah, definitely a masculine kind of a thing going on.
It actually is the compound that they use for an axe spray, and then I eventually made my own incense with it from one of the local guys in town over at Herbal Embers in DeKalb.
That's hilarious. That I'm not gonna lie to you, I was literally just thinking about him because I'm lighting this stick of incense and my hands are like shaking all over the place.
Yeah,
and I'm not gonna lie, Dan from Herbal Embers has somewhat shaky hands.
Oh yeah,
literally just thinking about him, and then you mentioned Herbal Embers. I was like, holy shit.
But yeah, no, I definitely have him mix up some concoctions for me every once in a while when he gets the chance. He's got me on 100%.
That's amazing. I did sound healing there back in like 2018. I had a couple sessions there.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I actually have a poster there now. So if anybody's local to the area around DeKalb, that's what I'm doing.
Mud Rabbit says, I use myrrh or cedar.
What's that?
Mud Rabbit commented and said she uses either myrrh or cedar.
Myrrh or cedar. Sorry. Yeah, myrrh, frankincense.
Myrrh, sure.
Actually, before I had my first DMT experience, I was just basically smelling like aromatherapy, inhaling this myrrh and frankincense mix in this glass bottle, and it was just like a third eye activation before the actual DMT experience. So it was really beautiful. I used to burn myrrh on like coals, like for a hookah.
Okay.
Yeah, it works out really good, man. It's beautiful. It's a very cleansing, sacred kind of smoke. It's the kind of smoke that you don't even have to worry about breathing in. It's like, I don't care if this smoke is like dense up in my room. This is fine. This is good for you.
Oh yeah. There's certain what's it? What not? God, I can't think of the name. Carbons that you'll deal with when it comes to certain smells. Perhaps. Yes, toxins. Yeah. Terry's got sandalwood going right now. Nice.
Well, I mean, even Jesus said that there is nothing that you can put in your body to make it less holy. Isn't that right? So.
What was that?
Oh, Jesus said that there's nothing you can put in your body to make it less holy. So if you're breathing in that myrrh, dude, there's nothing wrong with that. If you're breathing in some of that marijuana, there's nothing wrong with that either.
No, that always reminds me of there was some Vine when I was younger. I don't remember very much of it, but they're all bringing Jesus president, and he's like, I brought murder. He's like, Judas.
No, that's painful. That's very cringe.
Yeah. Oh, sorry, Olivia. Well, I hope it gets better. See,
Yeah,
see, Mud Rabbit talks about this a lot. So she ingests catnip. She's a fan of catnip. I don't remember if she said she makes tea or if she burns it, but
I've
she's a big fan.
I've used catnip as well as wormwood. I actually grew my own wormwood. Try saying that like 3 times fast.
I grew my own
I've
wormwood.
I've grown my own wormwood. So yeah, that was quite the experience. I did that for a year or two, just in my garden, just like herbal garden. I want to say it's actually perennial. Um, it's an interesting kind of heightening experience with the Thujone, however you say it. I think it's Thujone. I wouldn't say that it's psychedelic on a level of like lysergic acid, obviously, but it is something that tickles the senses, and I could see it influencing the poets or the artists.
Oh yeah, yeah. Are you referring to wormwood?
Wormwood, yes, that's right.
Yeah.
Thujone
Yeah,
is
no, I like the interesting tales of absinthe and the original absinthe and kind of how it developed. I mean, and it's tied to Picasso and this struggling artist.
You can get wormwood, or you can get absinthe with wormwood now. It's perfectly legal now.
Oh, can you? I didn't even realize it.
Yeah, it's high grade. Is like you're going to spend $100 a bottle, but I'm not necessarily a purveyor of alcohol, so to speak. However, if you're going to tickle that fancy, yeah, absinthe is like it's about $100 a bottle or so for a premium kind of stuff. It'll come from probably either France or Italy. You can go online. There's a forum that's all dedicated to absinthe because people are absinthe snobs. Like, because there's so much trash absinthe out there.
Oh yeah.
Don't go with what you first find on Google. Like, try.
Oh yeah, or the first thing you find at the liquor store because it's usually not real absinthe.
Do not even do that. Don't go to the liquor store for absinthe. Don't ask for it anymore.
Order it.
Yeah, don't even bother ordering it. So. Yeah, you'd have to go and dig through a forum and like be like, yo, what's the best? There's like this one, I gotta just remember. It's absinthe, probably absintheforums.org or some shit. That's what I want to say. But yeah, good supply.
Yeah, no, I never really heard of anybody taking or ingesting or smoking or anything with wormwood besides absinthe. That's the only forum I've actually heard of people partaking in.
So I used to roll joints out of it, and I would actually make a tea out of it.
So what is it? Is it like a flower, or what is?
It's an herbaceous perennial. It actually looks a lot like it's kind of hard to liken it to other plants. It has a very silvery appearance. The leaves in the sunlight are very silvery, where other leaves
what color are they? You said they have like a silvery context, but what color are they actually?
They're a hunter green. They're like a dark green sort of, but like I said, in the light.
So I feel like that's similar to some of our salvia blends that we actually have.
I think it is. It looks like a salvia plant, sort of. It has like fingers.
And I'm a landscaper. There's probably 36 different versions of salvia that you can get. Mm-hmm. And only one of them is the one that people actually used to sell. Yeah.
I got a terrible headache.
Oh yeah, right. Oh gosh. There's midnight salvia. There's salvia divinorum.
Salvia divinorum is what I believe.
Yeah, divinorum. Okay, and that's the one we were just referring to. But yeah, there's literally 36 plus different specs of salvia that you can actually get, and there's probably 9 that are good in our region. And because I do believe they still do salvia ceremonies in Mexico, as well as mushroom ceremonies.
In ayahuasca, you just have to find a reputable ayahuasquero.
Well, I shared with you that guy I follow by the name of Dakota of Earth, and he went to a mushroom ceremony. And I believe he also went to a salvia ceremony, and he found it interesting that when they were doing the ceremony, it was actually based on Jesus and the Christian religion. And they found it super interesting that it wasn't more of a nature thing. Like religion had become, what was invited. And I also think salvia is very interesting because I didn't know this until I actually watched more of his videos. I knew that people were purchasing salvia and smoking it, depending on if their state had it legal or not. And I didn't know it could be eaten and that they make it in tea as well. And where the significance comes in is I didn't realize it's activated by your saliva glands. So if you just actually swallow it, it actually doesn't have the same effect. But if you chew it up, it actually has a stronger effect. And so I found it intriguing that salvia is activated by saliva.
Salvia. I've got salvia saliva.
Yeah, I just found that connection to be super interesting.
Oh, dude.
Isn't that kind of strange? Like, and I don't know if the person that named it knew that, or
what the fuck? That's like the way language works. Like, it's such a riddle of like, how do we organize these different sounds? What's the first sound that we decided? Like, what's obviously not English, but in the original language of ugh, what was the first ugh? What was the first thing that we referenced? Was water the first thing we were like, oh, that's drinking water? Like, that's what
I feel like it would be like me, you, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like it would be anything more than that.
Not a need. It would be communication between people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
Because I mean, unless you're man. And so when I took was it? I think it was psychology 101 at the high school. I always thought it was interesting at my local high school. I thought it was interesting that they said the basis of language was actually started by alcohol. When it came to like some of these root languages, people would discuss things over alcohol, and I thought that was interesting. Whether it was wine or the beer that they were making at the time, mead. Yeah, no, because we were having a debate on here once, talking about what came first, mead, wine. I think there's a couple other versions of like fermented fruit that they're using to come up with these different alcohols. And I've always wondered. Well, I mean,
you know, in Greece, there were actually records of psychedelic mushrooms being preserved in honey.
Yeah. Yeah.
I take it you've read.
Okay, so we also talked about this the other day. Do you know about the tribe that goes hunting for hallucinogenic honey?
Ooh, yeah, it's from a specific flower.
Yes. So that flower is pollinated by the bees. The bees carry over. It's actually that flower is actually considered similar to the devil's trumpet in the same family.
Yes. Okay. I've definitely heard about this. I've watched a video specifically about this. So it's
there's a documentary where these young members of these tribes climb up the sides of these mountains and go retrieve this honey, and they catch a pretty good buzz off of. They probably have more of a tolerance than the outsiders, but they have one outsider there that tries it. And he's like, "Wow, this is interesting." I'm gonna try to catch up the chat a little bit. Could be wrong, but the absinthe we get in the U.S. doesn't have thujon in it.
No, it does. You can get it. It's actually been declassified, I believe, now. So if you look online, I believe that you are able to get thujon in absinthe. That's old school.
Meredith jumped in. She said, "Hi, guys." Hi, Meredith.
Hi.
Ooh, are you going to give us a tune?
Well,
yeah. Anybody that didn't get to catch how do you describe that instrument? Because I told you before, it reminds me of like an African steel drum.
Oh, okay. So the handpan is inspired by the steel pan from Trinidad, which was invented in the 1930s. Basically, the handpan was invented in the year 2000, which is why it's like a new thing. You know, most people haven't seen this thing before. It's an odd UFO thing. And yes, that's the emoji we use to talk about it. It's a UFO. So anyway, yeah, it was invented in the year 2000, and it's like two shells. So you have the top makes the sound, and then the bottom is like the resonating chamber for that Helmholtz resonance effect, amplifying the sound. So. Yeah.
Which one was that?
Oh,
I really did. So me and Jody actually went back and watched that song that you did the other night about the Norse god.
Oh, Yutun.
Yeah. And I pulled up the reference when you were playing it, and we went back and watched it, and she was like, "Oh, this is really good." And yeah, it's definitely catchy. I liked it.
I appreciate that, man. Yeah, so this one was actually, this is a newer song. This is a new handpan I just got from Russia. But it's kind of a rare scale. I love it. But so this song is called The Last Bastion of Humanity. Yeah, a little bit somber perhaps, but that's the way it was making me feel. So I just typically name songs according to how they make me feel, honestly. If you don't mind, I'll play that Yutun song real quick.
Oh yeah, I really do like that song. I would love to hear it again.
Right on. Right on. Let me sip my coffee here. Excellent. Just a sip. You don't want too much. Start playing too fast.
There you go.
That's what I live for, man.
Sorry about that. That's beautiful. So I had to ask, do you ever have to did you ever have to mark them to give you like an idea of what keys are where? Or is it something you got used to? Or
it's something I got used to. I've seen photos of other, like there's different handpan teachers out there. I've never taken classes. I've just been a musician my whole life. I picked the damn thing up and just started playing it. I do give lessons, but I don't have my students actually put stickers on their pans. I've seen people do that as if it's a violin. I find it unnecessary and overly complicated. Like it's.
Well, I've seen it on steel drums as well. People will put letters.
No, that actually there is a reason for that. It's often because it's difficult to see the lines between the notes.
Okay.
So sometimes you actually have to mark them because depending on the paint job of the pan, it can be very difficult to see the separation. So that is slightly different. On a handpan though, I've seen actual like beginners with like little stickers on each note. I think that's silly. The nature of the instrument is that it's intuitive. There's only fucking.
Does it mess up? Does it mess up the? Does it mess up the tone? Putting things on it too.
A tiny sticker like that, not really, but it could. In theory, it could. But yeah, I mean, like really, a little tiny sticker is not going to stop the membrane from vibrating, but it could dampen the sound ever so slightly.
Okay. Yeah, man, that's beautiful. Like I said, I'm gonna have to. That one was interruption free. Didn't have anybody jumping in, so I might have to bring that to. Or you know what? Since we live by each other, I might have to set up. We might have to set up a recording.
Yeah, we can do that because that was actually honestly, I'm so picky. There was a little mistake in there, and every time I make a mistake, I just laugh. It's just kind of fun. But yeah, I would love to come over, man. I have a pair of AKG P170s, and I've got a Shure SM. Well, I've got a couple of Shure microphones, but also have a Zoom H4n Pro that I use kind of for the preamp and send it into my laptop. So then I do all my mixing in Ableton. But
we were talking about it off the stream.
That's right. I do remember. That was a long stream.
Oh yeah, no. I was saying just before we started this one, and with this background, I want to get some audio for it, and yeah, I think your pan would just be a beautiful addition to this.
Yeah, no, it absolutely would.
That could be our new intro, and I'm gonna cue it up. Go ahead. I love it.
That is beautiful. For that simple reason, it's like drone footage is impossible to hate on.
True. Very true.
Sometimes technology sucks, but at the same time,
I've always felt like that about all percussion. I feel like there's so much into that. Like, I play a regular like 5-piece drum set. I can do that. I could not fathom how to do that. I have decent rhythm. I've just never. I'm honestly, before meeting you, I didn't know what that instrument was.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people haven't even seen it. Like I said, it was invented in the year 2000, so it's like relatively new in the world of music. In the world of instruments, it's brand spanking new. So honestly, what a fucking exciting time to be alive and to have manifested when like we have this beautiful thing that we can just bang on. And it's like, yeah, I get it. Everybody knows how to play guitar. Like I've got 2 guitars sitting in my corner, but like guitar is like, yeah, it's cool. But like eventually the handpan will be like the guitar where like everybody wants fucking one of these, So and they're so intuitive. I feel like everybody should have one. It's part of my meditative practice. Like if I'm really angry or if I'm really depressed, especially if I'm really depressed or if I'm feeling lonely, I'll sit down and just start playing handpan and I just get lost in the music. And then all the rest of it just melts away,
I think that ties into Meredith's question. She asked, can you feel the sound in your body when you're playing it?
Yes, yeah, you can actually. So you can feel a little bit of the vibration like through, because I'm holding this obviously on my lap. So I can feel it like through my thighs. And yeah, it does kind of go into the hips a little bit, down into the calves. the nature of the Helmholtz chamber is that there's a hole, just a little hole here in the back. It's actually 10 centimeters, just like dilation. It's 10 centimeters wide. Damn, this is 10 centimeters. That's impressive. Anyway. Had a huge revelation just now.
Yeah, I figured it out.
Damn. Also, though, perfect sound or perfect shape for sound projection. So, yes, it's really just a beautiful, beautiful thing, and the way that it just amplifies, and it kind of like it beams the sound outwards, but then it kind of like depending on how you're sitting, it will actually also affect the sound. If you're playing cross-legged, it'll sound differently than say how I'm sitting. Technically, the way I'm sitting is the proper way. You want to be sitting kind of like with your feet on the floor so that the channel of sound follows down out of the instrument and then like disperses out. You got to think about the way the sound is traveling. Now, I sit playing cross-legged all the time. I don't fucking care. Sometimes I mute it a little bit. If I'm going to record it, it's a totally different story. I want it to be as pristine as possible. But like, yeah.
Oh yeah, if you're recording it, I can see people pointing out, oh no, his legs are crossed. He doesn't know.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, get it off the handpan stand. Doesn't quite sound like I don't know.
No, I like how you described it without saying it, but you feel it down in your loins. I get it.
I didn't want to go there, man. But you do.
No, that really does resonate with people because you literally feel it through your thighs and through your legs, and those vibrations, you feel it in your bones, like.
In your bones. I mean, as you're playing, like I've got sound healing certificates. Wow, I can't even talk. Sound healing certificates up on the wall. I'll tell you right now, sound, vibration, it's everything, right? So that's like what we are made from is just energy. And basically the whole world is just energy that's just vibrating at different frequencies. And that's all that matter is. And why does it matter? Never mind. But no, that's the beautiful thing. There's to be able to tune into that, to tune into the vibration, and to feel that it's an awesome experience.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you played it for us. I'm glad we got to experience it because I don't know. I don't know. It's very beautiful. It does remind me of like a mythical land, and it's very earth. And I mean, you could say shamanic. You could say a lot of different things. There's this clip I'm actually thinking of while you were playing that song, and it's horrible reference, but the song's really good. It's from the TV series Stargate, and there's this I don't know, group or colony that is very very earthly, very spiritual. And there's a girl that is pretty much acoustically singing, and then they come in with what sounds like a handpan. And when you played those sounds, it just reminded me of that. And I'm gonna have to share it to you when we get offline.
Please do. I mean, I'll check that out. And yeah, to get back to what we were talking about before, man, I would definitely love to come over sometime and we'll get that recording section figured out. We'll also get my laptop firing off some funky sounds. So.
Oh yeah, I'll definitely give you all the credit too. I just love the sound that came from it. I have two people that wrote intros for us now. We have a time traveler by the name of Michael McIntosh, who's also in a band, and he's in the Young Astronauts Club, and they're actually a pretty big band. They do a lot of different genres, but most of the stuff I like from him reminds me of kind of like a punk psychedelic rock. And he did a couple of riffs for us, and so we're trying out new intros right now in this process. But I have to say, yours is the most mystical when I hear it. Like there's something about rather than a guitar, I feel like Michael's got 100 different instruments he could play, and I have a feeling he's gonna check this out and he'll be like, all right, we got to play something else. I have a feeling you guys are gonna keep trying to up the ante. I like it.
Yeah, it's definitely a little back and forth, I think. No, there's something different about the handpan. There's a mystique to it, and when you start to hear it, like the brain can't help but to be tickled, and you start to wonder, what is this? What am I listening to? You know?
Yeah, no, it definitely resonates. I don't know if it's just the natural. I don't know. I don't know if it's the natural sounds that are coming from it, if it's the frequency that it's getting played at, or what it is. But yeah, there's definitely and it transmits so well over over electronics. It's not something you have to be sitting in front of while somebody plays it. Like I was surprised we were able to hear it that well through YouTube as well. I bet it's better in person, but at the same time, just to hear it through that, it came in very clear.
Yeah, it records really, really well. There's different kinds of drums, like similar to this, different tongue drums. Tongue drums do not record nearly as nicely as a handpan really can, because a handpan is not. When you think about the way a microphone operates, with air molecules passing over it, essentially, or being a membrane, a handpan isn't creating like as aggressive a tone. It's literally just a membrane that's vibrating back and forth. Whereas like a tongue drum, it's literally a metal object, a tongue that's separate from the body, vibrating at a certain speed, and like it just seems a little bit more extreme. I don't know if that's why it records differently. It kind of seems like maybe. This is conjecture.
Yeah, no, I mean, and somebody that's played it more will have a more accurate conjecture on it than the outside perspective, and that's what we're on the outside looking in.
Yeah, I'm
not
these
people that play these instruments.
I'm not an acoustician. I don't know everything about acoustics necessarily, but I would have to say that the way that it vibrates probably determines how it's recorded. But no, you're right. The handpan, it records really well. It's like sometimes it feels like you're in the room with it, but when you actually are in the room with it, it's just such this like beautiful saturated sound. And I've gotten so many times that it sounds like the bell choir at church, some things like that. It has a very divine sound. And part of that comes from the fact that every note has 3 notes that are actually tuned into it. So you have the fundamental pitch, which is the root note, right? And then you have
sharp or flat.
Right, it could be sharp or flat. In this case, this one is F sharp. I have one that's D over here. That doesn't even matter necessarily. That's arbitrary. So you take the note and you have a fundamental pitch. That's the lowest one that you got. And then you have on either side of a dimple, like because on the handpan you've got these dimples. You can't help but notice, right? On these, and also turn a light might help you. So you got kind of these dimples around all the metal, right? Around the notes. So essentially you have a dimple with the fundamental. On the long axis you have an octave, and then on the short axis you have a perfect fifth. So I can kind of give you a little demonstration here. So fundamental pitch is just simply that one note, and then we have a perfect octave. It's just higher, bum, 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 and then you have a perfect fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's why each note, like you can just play one note, and it sounds chordal. It has more essence to it than just playing one string. To a certain degree, when you play a string on a guitar or on another stringed instrument, you do get other partial harmonics, but not innately the way that this instrument is tuned. Bam.
So another question, since we're talking about guitars and using that comparison, can you kind of do the same thing that you can do with a guitar, where say you were to drape your finger over the chords and then get that strum effect like can you do that on certain areas of the drum and the handpan, and also change the tone by limiting the vibration that's coming out?
Yes. So there's definitely palm muting and different techniques that you can do. I can just kind of show you a couple of them. So one that comes to mind specifically is the palm mute. So where you're dampening the sound. Sure, I can let it right now.
So you're grabbing the cymbal. I like it. Like when you're making it sharper like that and just cutting the sound off.
Yeah, but you're all that you're hearing at this point is the initial attack of the note, and then you hear a lack of the note,
Okay.
Yeah. But so that's one fun technique. Another one, trying to think about different mutes, really do like pinky flicks a lot. So it'll be where like you're almost kind of creating this a J with your hand, with your wrist. So I flick with my pinky, and then my thumb follows up and strikes after. So it's kind of like a double strike with one movement. So you can get just like kind of like quick little fluttery sounds out of that,
Gotcha.
A lot of
And what part of your finger are you actually connecting with? Your pads or
it does, yeah, typically on the pads, although it depends because I do oftentimes play with my thumbs. I play basically like the bottom 3 notes that are closest to my body. I play with my thumbs. And then it's ergonomics. So the further it gets from my body, I start using my fingers. I'm not stretching myself out. So thumb, 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 finger, 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 finger. And it's all just like the pads of my fingers. I touch it kind of like you would touch like a hot stove, like light and quick, because you don't want to stop it from vibrating. You just want to activate it ever so slightly, and then you just release it. Touch it like it's a woman. So.
Gotcha.
You want to treat it nice. You want to treat it nicely, basically. You don't want to. I've seen so many players that smack the crap out of it. It's like, man, that sounds terrible, and you're going to detune it too.
How can you retune it after it's been detuned, or does it have to be reshaped, or how does that work?
Well, it does have to be reshaped ever so slightly. I can actually show you some fine tuning right now. So we'll just listen to this scale. You hear a little bit of vibration, some waviness at the very top note.
Yeah.
So the top note is ever so slightly sharp. It's probably about, I would guess, 18 to 20 cents sharp. So I'm just gonna, typically people do this with their hand, but because this handpan isn't extremely stable, and because I'm just a good old boy like this, I'm just gonna retune it with my fist. It's gonna uppercut this baby in the right spots a couple times. There we go. See, it's now super flat. So you see, it's kind of a wobble back and forth. It's a tension game. And now it would have to drop a bit more. It's just kind of a back and forth.
Getting it dialed in. Gotcha.
Yeah, getting it dialed in. It is fun, kind of, to a certain degree. You're chasing it. Interesting. So it's this fifth. There's like part of it that's a little bit flat. And I'm just gonna fix it later because I'm too like tired to even deal with this shit. But as you can kind of hear, it's like a little back and forth thing. So you fix one part of the note, and then other parts will shift, and you kind of have to chase it. You're kind of like, because as I was describing earlier, you have that fundamental pitch, you have the octave, and then you have the fifth. So as you adjust one, you kind of have to adjust the others as well. And it's the best way to describe it is the notes are shaped like a Pringles chip. So like there's all this weird, wacky, wavy tension, and yeah, it's an interesting, it's a weird kind of tuning thing. When you make adjustments on the sides, you are affecting, as I was saying, those perfect fifths, the fifths on the sides. When you're making adjustments up top on the long axis, you're adjusting the octave. And off on the diagonals, it's like the fundamental pitch, that lower octave. Or you can hit the dimple, like straight in the middle, and that also affects it. So it's just like, there's so many elements to it, so many variables, the type of steel, the thickness of steel, whether it's nitrided, like heated with a chemical process or not. There's so many elements to it, man. It's crazy.
Meredith jumped in with a comment. It's kind of something we touched on last night. She says it's cool how sound interacts with the brain via a wave, quantum. And we were talking about vibrations last night, and matter having vibrations, and vibrations being based on density as well. We talked about a lot of different things when it comes to vibrations. We talked about even moving large objects, because I personally think that's how we moved larger objects back in the past, is understanding vibrations. And I think it's more of a lost knowledge. And it's interesting how your body reacts to these vibrations and different sounds. We didn't touch on it last night, but I always think it's interesting. Those they're almost like I don't know what you call it, like a tray, and you can tune it to a certain frequency, and then you can pour like sand on it, and it'll make geometric shapes depending on the frequency that's going through it. It'll move the powder or the sand.
It's the science of cymatics. It's cymatic sound. So basically what you are doing is applying a different frequency to a table, and this table resonates at that frequency, and with the particulate, which is like typically sand, or actually it's salt is typically what's used, it begins creating these oscillating shapes. And yeah, there are these beautiful geometric patterns that are often used to kind of like catalog the fabric of the universe, with sound.
Oh yeah, it's so interesting to see that time, because you don't think that sound has that much of an effect on matter. I think it's discredited in most senses when it comes to what sound can actually do, besides just raise your mood.
I'm still gonna chase this note.
Oh, I know you are. I could tell it was bugging you.
It's very close. I kind of need like a little bit of a mallet. I'm also gonna close my door.
Do you ever play it with a mallet as well?
No, because that's how you detune it, man.
Gotcha. Too much pressure. I'm gonna say it's almost there. So yeah, I was also letting everybody in the chat know we're taking questions as well, in case anybody wants to jump in, or if they have a question for Joey.
I still have books actually that we got to get back to.
Oh yeah, we got some. We definitely got some books we got to go over, and some quotes that you pulled earlier.
That's a little closer. Not even. See what I mean? It's a back and forth, man. It's a back and forth. Let's get to some of these books.
So what do you have referenced for us tonight?
Well, actually, so I kind of wanted to dial it back to a topic that we were talking about yesterday. Kind of how to check yourself on where you were at on your path, how to feel good about, man, it's so fucking hot in this room. How to feel good about basically where you are, even if you want to be better, where, feeling good about where you're at currently on your journey. I actually just cracked open, we were talking about Michio Kaku, and the first thing that I started looking at, I figured, was I would just like to read, just real quick, a little bit of Michio Kaku.
Yeah.
When children ride in an elevator, they sometimes nervously ask, what happens if the rope breaks? The answer is that you become weightless and float in the elevator as though in outer space. Because both you and the elevator are falling at the same rate, even though both you and the elevator are accelerating in the Earth's gravitational field, the acceleration is the same for both, and hence it appears that you are weightless in the elevator, at least until you reach the bottom of the shaft. In 1907, Einstein realized that a person floating in the elevator might think that someone had mysteriously turned off gravity. Einstein once recalled, "I was sitting in a chair in the patient office at Bern when all of a sudden a thought occurred to me. If a person falls freely, he will not feel his own weight." I was startled. This simple thought made a deep impression on me and impelled me towards a theory of gravitation. Einstein would call it the happiest thought of my life. Reversing the situation, he knew that someone in an accelerating rocket will feel a force pushing him into the seat, as though there were a gravitational pull on him. In fact, the force of acceleration felt by our astronauts is routinely measured in G's. That is, multiples of the force of the Earth's gravitation. The conclusion he reached was that someone accelerating in a speeding rocket may think that these forces were caused by gravity. From this children's question, Einstein grasped the fundamental nature of gravitation. The laws of nature in an accelerating frame are equivalent to the laws in a gravitational field. I'm going to read that again. The laws of nature in an accelerating frame are equivalent to the laws in a gravitational field. This simple statement, called the equivalence principle, may not mean much to the average person, but once again, in the hands of Einstein, it became the foundation of a theory of the cosmos. So this just kind of, the note that I had based off of all of this was just, progress can feel like stagnance. Don't doubt the process. You can be...
That's beautiful. You need that.
Yeah, you can be in the rocket going freaking at the speed of light, and you know how many G's of force you're going to feel? And you're going to think that you're stagnant and that you have all this weight on you, that you're going nowhere. But you might be going at the speed of light, man. Like, don't doubt the process. Don't doubt yourself, no matter how you're feeling. So that was just my inflection based off of that random cracking.
No, I mean, and you have to break down what the quote means to you. That's a perfect analysis of how you would take it, because Michio Kaku is hard to get a middle ground with. You actually have to unpack most of his work, because it's hard for him to explain it. I think we talked about Neil deGrasse Tyson not too long ago, and we were talking about, well, me personally, I think he is a good middle ground for astrophysicists, because he can actually talk to people, and there is that middle ground there. Like, I watched Elon Musk try to talk to people. I just think he's kind of socially awkward. That when you're operating on that high intelligence, sometimes it's actually hard to communicate what you're thinking to people. It just seems like the mind's always going sometimes.
Well, and also you have to question constantly if they can't actually engage, or if it feels like they're hiding something or standing behind something. Like, why can't they be present, or why can't they actually fully engage? Because it always seems as though a person of that standing always has something that they're standing behind, something that they're holding from you. I don't really appreciate that personality type, and I don't think that that's necessarily strong. I look at the world leaders, I say it's hilarious, the elite. And, like, you know, you look at their personality traits and it's nothing that's pretty.
Tiffany just said music is a very therapeutic and a big stress reliever for her. I 100% agree. I don't know what I would do without music in my life. It's so important to me.
Likewise, man. Sound is life for me. And actually, to bring it back to my influences, I paraphrased from this Buckland Guide to Witchcraft. He's talking about salt being used in the ritual. Salt is life. May this salt be pure, and may it purify my life. In my electronic music, I kind of took this idea, and instead, though, the vocal was, sound is life. May this sound be pure, and may it purify my life. And it is. In the beginning, in the beginning was the word. And we also have Om, the creation, the creative sound, the infinite, ever-present cosmos. And it's the sound. You have the cosmic microwave background. There's always something behind.
There's always background noise that is being recorded, but we don't know when it started, how long it's been playing, and actually we kind of have an idea of that, but we don't. Man, so I love talking about this.
And how do how do you measure something when the very instruments that you create are made of that thing?
Agreed. And this brings us into quantum. This always brings me into quantum mechanics, and I always think of our eyes, our ears, and nose and the other senses. I think these tools that we have are so mediocre when it comes to measuring certain things. And I always, what is when people are trying to measure understand quantum physics, they can usually only recognize a point after it's been after the matter has been there and then moved. So you can only follow it. You can't actually know predict where it's going to be next. And I love Neil deGrasse Tyson's example of it. It's like when you drop something in the car seat and you reach down for it. And when you reach down for it, you actually make it fall lower and farther away from you just for trying to reach for it. When you're actually trying to obtain it, that's when you push it farther away. And it's so interesting to me, like how things act like that.
The thing that you grasp for is exactly the thing you cannot have. Yeah, actually, it reminds me of a beautiful quote. One of my favorite parables is, to be he who moves mountains, you have to no longer desire to be he who moves mountains. And then you will realize that you're the one who put the mountains there in the first place.
I like that.
Yeah.
Terry said something here. It says, it's like take a jackrabbit start in a hot rod car at the stoplight when it hits green. Once you get up to stay at the speed limit, you don't feel the gravity anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, how do you go faster than the speed of light? Well, you just go to the speed of light and then you start walking.
Because you already have that momentum behind you. It's okay at that point.
Yeah, it's fine. You can break the speed, or you can break the light barrier. Nobody cares. So you just start walking. No one cares.
Let's see here. Try to catch up this chat a little bit. Let's see.
The speed of light is arbitrary, man.
Oh yeah. I think that has to do with I think. Okay, so I had a physicist on my show who read a book, and I don't have all the references in front of me right now, but he explains how we would be able to travel faster than the speed of light, and has a full formula for it and how it would work. And it's not based on the propulsion that we're thinking about. He's got theories for how to reverse the effects of black holes and actually make them spit matter back out. He's got very interesting theories and the equations to actually explain how they would work. And yeah, if you ever get a chance, his name's Mark Fiorentino, I believe, or Fiorentino. He's on some of my other videos, but his explanation of these things is far better than mine. And I wouldn't even dabble in trying to explain some of the things he says, just because I wouldn't do it the right justice. But he based all of his original research on Einstein's theory of relativity. And then he expanded from that and said, okay, well, there's things that Einstein was missing. And whether it was the recognition of, he didn't say quartz. Man, and that's the thing. I'm thinking of the wrong thing, but it was the glue that binded these molecules together. And some people called it gluons or something like that, and they eventually figured out what it was at a later time. And this guy explains it so well. And there's so many things to physics that I feel like we already feel like is already figured out, and it's a matter of it's already written. So therefore, this is what we got. This is what we're going to go with. And I feel like the speed of light is definitely one of those things where it's actually not figured out yet. We're still learning more about it. And until we have what's that?
Oh, it's a matter of harnessing the energy to get to that potential. We don't have the actual, we would literally need to use the power of all of the power plants on Earth to create just an umpteenth power to do the kind of thing that we're talking about, basically. Like you really do require a huge amount of power that we just aren't quite capable of doing yet.
Well, and I always wonder if it's going to be a propulsion type of craft that we're going to be traveling in, because I don't necessarily think with Einstein's theory that we're ever going to have a craft that can harness enough fuel to get us to a certain point without that dilation that everyone talks about, where the craft gets bigger, therefore you can only go so fast. And
you've heard of the M drive?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So just the electromagnetic drive. It's a beautiful concept, and but it's still kind of similar problem. Is like, okay, so we can only get going so fast. It's going to take us X amount of time. Can't we just get there already? Let's just make a wormhole.
Well, and we that's been the idea, I believe, behind NASA's idea with the space elevator, is to almost create a coil that as you're passing through it, you're almost getting pushed like a mag train, where you're increasing on speed, but the only question is, how are we going to battle the inertia on the human body without creating some kind of field around yourself to actually stop that inertia?
It would be a requirement of that technology. And again, that would also require such an astronomical amount of power to create a shield around that force. That would create so much resistance, friction.
True. That's one of the Mark's theories. He always referenced rings or something spinning around at a high velocity, and being able to create your own magnetic field with that propulsion, and that would counter the effects of inertia and be able to travel at those speeds that you want to travel at. It's very interesting. Like I said, I'm probably not doing it the right justice. If anybody gets a chance, double back and check it out. But
it's super cool. I mean, this stuff it's slightly that's the thing, is I grasp it, and I enjoy reading Kaku, and I enjoy reading things from theoretical physicists, and it's always fascinated me. But it's something that's slightly, when it comes down to the math of it, it's beyond me. I appreciate the beauty of the sacred geometry that's held within it. I appreciate the forms that they're presenting. When it comes down to the math of it, while I appreciate it, it's not something that I personally resonate with. I just basically, as I said, I truly appreciate the sacred geometry and the affirmations. Like when, as I was saying yesterday, when in allopathic medicine, in modern medicine, when you have confirmations through like MRIs and CAT scans confirming like Buddhist monks and shamans activating brainwave states, like modern medicine is proving that ancient traditions work, and that there was something to it. It's not just mumbo jumbo,
Well, and I also think it's interesting to follow the science, because all through history, religion puts itself at the farthest point that science can reach. And they go, that's where God is. Science hasn't figured that out. That's where God is. And then that measurement keeps getting pushed farther and farther, depending on scientific discovery. So it's interesting to follow the scientific discoveries once they're proven, because then you get to see where religion's going to be on the next step. Because then they're like, all right, well, we don't know when the Big Bang started. Okay, that's God. That's got to be God, because science is never going to figure this out. It's just always the farthest point.
Yeah, and that's another point of force at a distance, right? Or action at a distance. The fish in the pond, seeing the lilies. We have no idea what's going on. We don't actually know what's making the lilies move up there, but we can sit here and we can pretend and we can make up all these rules and laws. But if the wind starts blowing in a different direction, then we have to accommodate for that.
Mud Rabbit had a comment. She said, aren't they working on transporters? If that comes into being, we won't need vehicles.
Fuck, I
hope so.
I honestly I have lately been just living under a rock of spirituality and sound. I just live under a handpan, basically. I appreciate science. I love all you guys. Is that what they're doing these days?
Gosh, I hope so. I
That
mean,
sounds sick. I mean, I'm not
that's
gonna
the
lie.
kind of non-pollution I would want on this planet for travel. I mean, if we could come up with something like teleportation and get rid of our carbon monoxide
Our
distribution
carbon
that come from all of our vehicles, oh yeah, that would be a game changer.
way to do it. Just put me in the tube.
Yeah, right. I always picture being at the bank and they send that
Yeah.
thing up. That's going to be us shooting around in tubes, all pneumatic.
Oh, that's how I'm gonna die, man.
Oh gosh.
That sounds terrifying, but also quite the thrill.
Oh yeah. I hope I live to experience the first teleporters. That'd be something I would be happy to experiment with in my lifetime. Like, all right, we're gonna just teleport to the other side of the planet.
But am I the same me though? How do you know? Are you sure? Did you ask me?
Oh gosh, that's a good question.
Did you ask me if I'm the same me? Because he would say yes. The other guy would say yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, even a clone of yourself, if it was the more dead on the clone was, it would think it was itself.
If you're either gonna think that you are you, or you're gonna be like, it's imposter syndrome, and now I need to be like, yeah, I am. Like,
Yeah, I need to affirm this for myself because, I couldn't look back of knowing that there was another out there exactly like me. Somebody, I remember who came on and we were talking about doppelgangers. We were talking about the possibility of doppelgangers, whether it's alternate realities or different planets in our solar system where there could possibly be life that's similar to our own. We got into some deep topics lately.
Yeah, it's spooky. I mean, it's like fractalic images when you see things that are like that you have an understanding of the world in one spectrum, and then like the lenses shift, and all of a sudden it's like, this is interesting. Like, people that were never in your reality tunnel before, all of a sudden, like, could be a doppelganger. Like, interesting. Like, you are exactly like me, and we've never met. What the fuck? People like within even the same circle sometimes rotating around and just somehow never coinciding. And then when they meet, it's like, this is odd.
Mud Rabbit made a good point here. She said, if we're just energy in meat suits, it might be easier than we realize. That's true. I feel like if we're just carrying around this vessel and our energy and our soul or our spirit is what travels beyond oneself, I feel like it's easy to get put back into the meat suit. If you can learn how to astral project. What are your feelings on like astral projection and stuff like that?
So astral projection is it's really interesting. They're always talking about the cord, that silver cord of attachment. I can't say I've ever had an actual astral projection experience. However, I have had an LSD experience that was out of body. I was basically everything was like neon pink, which is also my favorite color. And
so, it's coming off as purple, and purple is my favorite color. I love like medieval purple, like a dark purple. There's something about it.
Oh, very majestic, very regal. Yes. Okay, so basically, I call it like this spirit pink color. It's like this hot fuchsia, if you will.
Okay.
And I was like looking up. It was like looking up this stone cobbled corridor. It would have been like a chimney, like the Siberian shamans. And I saw this smoky essence of like my pink soul, like traveling up this corridor. And it was like the ascension going up, like into the light, going into the love, into source, into the one, So that was really absolutely beautiful. Sort of like astral projection, not really. As far as shamanism, like when you're actually traveling and doing the spirit journey, you are rattling and drumming and blindfolded, but you literally, you can think of it as retracing your steps. You untrace your steps. You just leave your body and you just walk, float, however, you verb to your favorite spot in nature. And it's called your sacred garden in shamanism. and that's where you feel at one with everything.
Plane of
One
enlightenment.
with nature. What's that?
The plane of enlightenment.
Well, that's kind of yes, right. So this is actually in the middle world still. So
Yeah.
there's in shamanism, there's the middle world, the lower worlds, and the upper worlds. So in this middle world, this is where we operate. We operate on in ordinary consciousness of this middle world. But this is going to be a shamanic state of consciousness, not ordinary state of consciousness. So you're in the middle world, going to this place where you are safe, exactly, in this dimension, in this reality, but spiritually, you're going there. And you begin looking for, if you're going to the higher worlds, you would look for a portal or a vortex in the sky. Some people climb the rainbow. I personally shapeshift into one of my guides' eagle, and I actually fly through a portal in the clouds through a vortex. Now, if you're going to the lower worlds, you would look for a portal or a tunnel going down into the ground. I actually use a tunnel that was shown to me while I was on psychedelics in the middle of winter by a spider.
Wow.
It's a beautiful, beautiful connection between these planes, and you are navigating basically, and you choose where you want to go. Now, I never worry about a silver cord or about an attachment to the body. I'm not attached to my body anyway.
Well, do you ever worry about not being able to come back?
No.
To your own body?
Who cares anyway? Why are you attached to your body? That's something that needs to be addressed in the first place.
Good point.
You should be free to leave right now. If I died at this very second, it is what it is, man. I mean, I have kids. I have a life. I have things that I love, and I have music to make. I still have songs to write. I still have stories to put out there and tell the world. But if I die today, that's okay. I'm ready to go. You know what I mean? And I think we need to accept that. And to get there, you need to live love. You need to be in a place of love, and you need to live your truth and stand in your power.
I've had a couple out of body experiences that I can relate. So, on my my path of spirituality, with messing with hallucinogens in different ways and experimenting, I found myself actually wanting to shut off the exterior in order to better understand what I was taking into myself. So I actually created my own isolation tank in my bathroom. I would get Epsom salt, and I would I'd use two versions. Yeah, I'd use about two to 3 bags, so about 6 pounds of Epsom salt. I would get the water to like a room type temperature, start floating, and then I would sit in there and listen to usually binary beats or something that kind of resonates with me. I have to jump around a little bit and see which ones connect, but I actually got to a point where I actually felt a rainbow of color coming out of my chest, and I didn't understand what it was. I didn't know if it was something leaving me, but I just remember looking down and just seeing this color rise from me, and it was so interesting. And I've had like what I would consider partial out of body experiences where I felt like I was still somewhat attached. I described this to you last night offline. There was a point where I was on a hallucinogen, and I felt like my feet were still attached to my shoulder, but everything else of my body was raised above that point. And I was looking down at myself, and I knew that I wasn't fully in my body anymore. But I feel like I don't know. There's different levels to it. I don't necessarily know how far I've been in certain levels. I haven't astral projected in the sense of like traveling to a certain location or a planned destination or anything like that. I've never been able to aim for a destination. I just kind of let it take over me and see where it does take me. I don't have a plan, and that's always been my thing. Well, and I want to learn from these experiences. I don't want to go in thinking I know the answer, because then I feel like it could be a lot more abrasive than you want it to be. I feel like you have to be open to what you're going to find, no matter what it is, the good, the bad, the ugly. There's a balance that I think you learn from every experience, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. And maybe it's how to have less stress in your life because you took these times in, and it might have stressed you out in the moment, but you realized, hey, outside of this, you don't really have that much stress in your life. There wasn't a reason to get stressed about this. It was a very minute thing, and it really does keep you grounded. And I always remember the next day after all of these experiences, just waking up and being happy to be alive, appreciating the sun, walking in the grass for a little while barefooted, and just getting that groundedness. And I don't know, there's just something about it that I feel like I wish I could share with the world, but at the same time, I know the world's not ready for it because it would be too much for a lot of people. I mean, and a lot of people don't want to see that, but
to realize
I gotta catch up on the chat a little bit.
Yeah, we've been.
Let's see here. Tiffany said, I have astral projected, but just around my parents' house as a teen. That is as far as I've gotten. That's a lot farther than most people have gotten. That's
absolutely, and that's I mean, even so, that's like in relation to shamanism. That's like you're on the way to finding that sacred garden, that space where you're safe to blast off to explore other dimensions. So even if you're just going around your hometown, so to speak, that's still like, hey man, like you are in the playground.
Yeah. Mud Rabbit also jumped in. She said, I've done it, but it was totally unexpected. Not like I was trying or anything. And sometimes you don't have to try. Some people are more perceptible to it than others. I feel like it's the openness and willingness. And also, I really do think there is something to that state of mind that's in between awake and asleep, where there is kind of a cloudiness over things. I don't know what it is, but I feel like there's something to that residency where like you're not exactly dreaming, but you're not exactly awake, and there's that middle ground where you could pull away from your body if you wanted to, if you learned how to.
Yes. No, there's always we are always at the nexus, and there's always the veil that is dancing before us, and sometimes we get peaks when the cosmic wind blows it the right way, right? But if you so choose, you just reach out and look at what's behind the veil.
Well, I mean, and that's if I feel like it does take a lot of guts to put yourself in those situations to want to look behind the veil. Some people don't want to look. They say, it's not something. I always reference comedians in ayahuasca because I know a lot of comedians that don't want to go and try an ayahuasca experience for the simple fact that they think it might change them. Like, what if I'm not able to do comedy after this? What if I don't have that dark side to me anymore where I can make these funny jokes? Or, I think it really can be a life-changing experience that you have to respect.
I could honestly see where for a comedian, that's the thing is like, I actually have entertained the idea of doing like some stand-up comedy, and I have a couple different angles that I can work. I'm like the man of 1,000 jobs, right? I've had so many different jobs, so I could like go into this. But that being said, from that perspective and coming from acting, I can see how like you could have a fear of losing the persona, of losing your ego. Now, the thing is, the ego, the persona is literally the mask. It's a mask that, like, it's funny that the name for the mask has become, like, person. Persona is the name of the mask that we wear, but then person is who we are now. Literally, person comes from persona, the mask we wear. So we have identified so much. Yeah, we have identified so much with the persona that we are now a person. How is that?
Think of the oxymoron. I was just thinking of the oxymoron of the man in the iron mask that we never knew the identity of. There was a true story in past, like that we never knew the identity of this person that was wearing this iron mask that was jailed for these reasons, and we're like, oh, now we think of our own personal selves. I always like to use the example of like a football player. When they put on pads and a helmet, they're like a different person because they feel like they're a different person. They have this different energy resonating from them because of the uniform or the outfit that they're wearing, whether it's Halloween, whether it's a sport, whether it's something like that. There's this anonymity to it where I feel like you're not attached to your personal self. You can be something else in that mask or in that moment. And
you are masquerading. You are
masquerading. Yes, that's a great term.
Yeah, you take on a sort of a different archetype, if you will. You take on the energy of the archetype that you're representing, and like you can tap into things like that at will. That's the essence of magic. Is like, so through this spirit journeying, I identify, and my higher self, my mentor, has always come to me in the form of Buddha. Buddha has presented itself as something I accept. So true magic is like bringing these higher concepts, bringing like higher dimensional power into this reality. So like if I am able to channel this pure white light, this pure energy of Buddhahood into my being and then bring that into the world, if I channel that energy of my higher self and then go out and act within the world, then I am basically a beacon of manifestation.
Well, and it's just like we were talking about with negative energy. You manifest what you take in, whether it's the negative energy from the world, like whether you felt like watching Fox News all day and you came home with all bad stories, and the world's burning, and that's what you're walking around with.
And everybody hates each other, and
and that's what you're walking around with. You tend to grab from a better energy, and you want to rub that energy off on people. You want that to resonate from yourself, which is what you actually want in society, is more people resonating on that higher frequency rather than, a lower negative one where they're bringing down others just from being around them.
People need to feel acceptance and love from themselves within. And then once they feel an acceptance, a true acceptance of themselves, and truly can love themselves, then they will begin to love the world around them. And then the world will become love. And that is how the few can change the world for the many. You truly love yourself. You truly change the world around you. And this was also a talking point yesterday. Then you are not only doing a service to the world, but it's almost like it's an obligation to yourself and to others to better your environment.
Tiffany added, I used to meditate to relax and would end up seeing spirits. That's interesting.
Yes, I was just, I had about 3 grams of psilocybin mushrooms in a hot tea that I made. And I was having beautiful journey experiences. Actually, great segue. I'll read one of them in a moment. And I actually experienced this very comforting, intimate spiritual entity that I had my eyes closed and it was holding hands with me. And it just felt very comforting. And then it kind of like the energies began changing. And it was not something that I was allowing to come into my field. And so I defended myself spiritually. I typically, when it comes to my seeing myself in the plane of, in my spiritual plane, I just have like a sword of light. And anytime I deal with a negative entity, you just give them the sword, man. That's all that they need. Get out of here.
Sorry, I was reading it at the same time I was trying to say Tiffany's name. Tiffany had another thing that she said. My mom and I would make a blue light between us, and we would bring our hands close together. That's interesting. And then Mud Rabbit added, my mom and I would short out light bulbs. That's interesting. Wow. Those are two very different energies.
Very different energies, but at the same time, it's all chi, and you're working with the energy between you, and all of a sudden there's a pop and a crackle. That's exciting. That's super exciting. I want to get back to this mushroom trip real quick.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
So I basically just had this inner vision, right? And we are an observer, but can't look behind us. Basically, is what I was taking from this. I was seeing a corner of a little nook, like it was almost like you're looking at grandma's desk, right? And there was like rose petals and like a little glass jar of who knows what the fuck. And then the scene kind of started changing into like a futuristic lounge with couches. So that was pretty cool. But anyway, so I was looking at this and I was like, well, why can't I want to see like what's behind me? Like, not just look around me. I want to see what is like back here, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I basically was literally, I heard this voice that it said something to the effect of not yet. And then there was like this spirit that was like, it was almost like an interpreting spirit that was downloading the code into my brain that was basically telling me like, when we shed this body, then we're ready to like look behind us. And that's exactly what we were talking about, how our physical brain and our current makeup can't possibly comprehend the beauty of the divine code. It's just as simple as that.
Oh, I like that. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Tiffany said, I've had so many experiences with spirits. Tiffany's also, I had brought her up when we were talking the other night. She does tarot card readings for people. She's done some for me and my girlfriend as well, and they actually really resonated with us, and we enjoyed it a lot. She does very good work, practices in the light. She's one of those people that I also reference that likes to cleanse the room prior to encounter. She uses sage. I know everybody uses their different things, but there's only a few people that have that knowledge of clearing energies from rooms and actually using it properly.
Yeah, I love that. I love that, to be able to transmute that energy. And that transfiguration kind of plays a part into I'm trying to remember the term. Basically, when you help spirits to pass on, you basically, when you become sensitive, I guess, to this spirit world around us, when you truly accept in your heart that there are other things that we can't possibly understand, you will begin to just feel and know that there's someone with you, or that there's an entity here. And sometimes you hear a life story, or like there's like a flashing image or something. And I have like legit had to like stop doing my dishes in the middle of doing the dishes, and had to like focus on like, okay, like we're gonna alternate, get into a different state of mind, get into a theta brainwave state. Sometimes I will literally put down what I'm doing and pick up a rattle, and then put myself into that state and internally guide them to the light. I will guide them through my own spirit map into how I ascend into that plane. And that's yeah.
My introduction to that type of energy and helping people on the other side, I've talked to you a little bit about it, was on Ouija boards. And when I slowly understood some of the things that I was learning about them, I realized.
Oh, Dixie, my dog thinks that everything it's perfectly fine, sweetheart.
No, okay. But basically, the way that I started figuring out that there was these energies on the other side is there was a question that I learned to ask on a Ouija board, and it was, once you're talking to somebody and you've asked a few other questions before that, you ask them if they know that they are deceased. And I've had some very interesting outcomes from people from asking that question. Some of them will leave, and I always thought it was intriguing. I'm like, oh, maybe they didn't know that they had passed away, or maybe they didn't want to come to that realization, and then they left the board because of it. I've come into some very interesting situations basically by presenting that question and getting different. I've had people argue with me about it.
Are we the ones that we the ones that don't know we're dead?
Yeah. What if? That's a great question. What if we're the ones on the other side of the Ouija board?
We're the ones spinning all the
we are actually the spirit world communicating with a live world. that is on a different plane of existence.
Our dream world is somehow connected or something of that nature.
Ooh.
Where do we go when we dream? And what part of us is going where, you know?
Well, and this is something we dove into the other night. I was wondering because we both have had hallucinogenic experiences, and I also think there is a part with the spiritual world with possession and things like that. You
Yes.
don't have the same. You don't have the same earthly attachment to your body as I do. Sometimes, if I wanted to astral project, I would like to know that I could make it back. I don't know if I'd want to give up my chance for living anymore after that. I mean, I guess I could still continue on as a spirit, but I don't know. I wonder if in hallucinogenic states, when you have these out of body experiences, if you're also opening your body up to these entities to take over this vessel as well.
To opening to the level of possession. I mean, I do feel that there are negative entities out there, and I feel that if you don't protect yourself and if you don't play it safe, then you're playing with fire. You're going to get burned.
Mm-hmm.
You know, always educate yourself. I started off this chat kind of a grim way. Yeah, my mom was a priestess in the Church of Satan. Like, yes, like I
think that is. I think it's a misconception.
It is. It's not what people think it is.
Yes,
it's not about Satan. It's actually about the self, and it's about coming to yourself and not letting people cross you. It's about self-empowerment. They don't believe something that really stuck with me after reading some of their passages. Basically, was like hope is for the weak, and that stuck with me. You always hope for the best. You always hope people get better. I hope you feel well. I hope everything is good. But hope is different from action. So that's what they're trying to point out. I just think that they're a bit too extreme. I think
the human perception of what is good and what is bad is always flawed. Whether it's by religion, whether it's by school or whatever, this idea of or nationality. I think nationalism is a good problem with what is good and what is bad. Going to war for a country that you might not support, the reason they're going to war if you actually knew what it was. I mean, most of the time the public doesn't know these things, but I do think there's a balance to that. And when it's actually just a yin and yang, it's not a good or bad. It's these polar opposites that are working together. That is going on our planet, regardless of what your perception of what they are. Like, there's always going to be these opposite energies working together. One of them is not necessarily negative, and one of them is positive. It's just this yin and yang of life that we have to flow with.
And eventually, it all gets pulled out and sorted out anyway.
Yeah, it does. It does come to a balance in the end.
Yeah, exactly. It feels like this or the other, and it's kind of like a combative, but really at the very end of it, it's all grist for the mill, and it's all, you find the unity through the duality.
I agree, Tiffany. We need more love in the world.
We do. Yeah, it needs to be a place of love.
Tiffany has a question for you as well. Have you ever used a candle to see your aura?
I have not done that. I've seen photos, I want to say, just online about people doing that with the aura photography. I know that there's even like a specific word for it. It's really interesting. Yeah, I've never actually done anything like that. I practice candle magic with manifestation. I'm actually backing off of candle magic. It's too much.
Well, it's interesting that you used the photograph comparison, because a lot of different cultures have different beliefs about photos and what they're doing to you actually taking the photo. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that feel like that takes a part of them away when they're actually photographed. We were talking about Indian civilizations before.
That's an interesting concept. It's a moment that you're capturing, isn't it? And it's
not part of someone's essence.
Yeah, I personally don't ascribe to that belief. It's fascinating, and it's an interesting mental exercise, but again, applying Occam's razor, they're putting themselves through unnecessary suffering. That's when you really stop and think about it. What could be stuck inside a camera other than photons on film? You know. Now, personally, though, I must say that this photo captured me quite well of me just after my first DMT trip coming back.
Yeah.
So, yes. Sometimes a photo is necessary.
Well, maybe your soul wasn't there at the time, so you weren't worried about it.
Touche.
Going with what Tiffany said about auras. So the only time I can read auras is actually when I'm taking psilocybin mushrooms. For some reason, I can really read body language and auras a lot more. I get full feelings where I don't want to be around certain people because I feel a negative energy coming from them, whether it's a color radiating off of them or all of a sudden I'll see I only see deformed faces on people that I shouldn't be around.
It's unfortunate. I was going to make a point real quick. It's
no, go ahead.
That you desire not to be around these people, but at the same time, those are the people that like need help, and they are the people that
I agree.
Those are the people that need to go within. But now continue, because this is riveting.
Well, no, I basically wanted to know if you have ever been able to read auras in that same sense, because I don't get the same effects from LSD or dimethyltryptamine or any of those other hallucinogens that I get from mushrooms. I feel like there's a very grounded earth effect to psilocybin mushrooms when it comes to that. And for some reason, I can read body language a lot easier.
Well, the mushroom also greatly played a part on human evolution. As we crossed the mushroom and we began experimenting with the psychedelic and realized the power that it held, and how we could tap into the universe and tap into all of this just with this simple mushroom. God, I'm on mushrooms now. I lost the.
But so basically, it was the point of the question was: do you ever get that same feeling where you can read auras on certain psychedelics, yes, or do you get it just from vibes outside of being under hallucinogens? Do you get it outside of that as well?
I do. It's like sort of divination, sort of that sense of scrying. It comes when you are like, there's a feeling of like spacing out, when you're no longer focused, but like you're sort of focused. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's when you can kind of tap into that energy, is when you're like, you are outside of yourself, but you're still receptive to the information. And
I think it's like a different type of peripheral vision.
Exactly. You're allowing yourself to go into a corridor. It's a corridor that's just like a 16th of an inch, just ever so slightly off. You know?
Like a 16th of an inch, is that what you said?
Yeah, just ever so slightly off, you know.
Yeah. It could be coming back to frequencies and everything else. Like it's just a different type of dialed in that I don't experience outside of that. I wish I don't know if it's, I'd like to make excuses. I don't know if it's my ADHD or my attention span, but meditation has never really worked for me in that sense. I wish I could sit still long enough to meditate. I can never get to that point. I don't know. I could use a teacher on that.
Well, I tell you what, let me use a little intermission here. I'm going to go ahead and use the little boy's room.
Oh no, it's fine. We'll take a break and then we'll start up another live here shortly. If anybody wants to tune in, okay. We will jump back on.
Yeah, I'm going to follow up with some, we'll jump into some Tonglen meditation, which is not your typical meditation. Usually people are talking about completely clearing your mind, whereas this is actually a compassion visualization. So it's a kind of different meditation.
All right, we will dive into that as soon as we come back. I'm just saying goodbye to everybody in the chat. I said be right back. All right. And we're going to start up another live here shortly. And that way you guys aren't just sitting here waiting for us. We're going to take an intermission, bathroom breaks, all that. And we will be back. Yes. Thanks, guys.